come you're on? Oh. That's a bit weird. Oh well, seeing as you are on, let's have a bit of a chat about really not needing to do acrobatics in order to actually practice yoga. In fact, actually acrobatics are not yoga at all. They can be a helping hand to facilitate the effortless action that primes the ability to enter Wu Wei. What is Wu Wei? Wu Wei is a Chinese term. It's more of an ancient Chinese term, really. I was teaching at a university in New Zealand, and the university invited a professor from Shanghai University, actually, obviously from China, and she came over and we were having a chat. I remember this vividly in the lunch area, and as we were discussing various topics of acupuncture, Chinese medicine and the likes, I mentioned the word Wu Wei, and she said, "What do you know about this word?" She said, "That's very interesting to me because the masses of China have forgotten this word. This word has become almost obsolete, the true meaning of it, that is." So what is meant by Wu Wei? Wu Wei is literally interpreted into English as by doing nothing, everything is done. And of course that can sound quite passive and quite appealing to the more passive characters amongst us, those who want to be lazy and not do anything. The laissez-faire sort of, lay back, sort of not needing to attend to the world. But this isn't exactly what it means. It's more like by not forcing, nature gets to show itself. Or in the health and therapy settings, it could be seen as by not reacting, health gets to express itself. So yeah, Wu Wei is often a very misunderstood word, both in the West and the East, seemingly. But very useful to appreciate that if we go on that, in inverted commas, progression from the moral intent, yama, to the self-discipline, niyama, and then we open up to asana, then that is the point where we can really start to attend to that effortless effort. So the poses, the postures, the various positions that we get into, we use those as an excuse to let the body start to take over, nature start to take over. Then breath work comes in, same thing again. We notice that the breath itself becomes more attuned, yes, stimulated because of the priming breaths, but then more attuned because of the relaxation breaths. So the oxygen and carbon dioxide come into a balance again. There's a sense of a mixing and sensitivity through the body, and aliveness starts to come forth. That's the breathwork component. This will then open up the releases in the bodies, the neurogenic releases, and then the biggie, pranayama, so pranayama. No control of the breath or the postures or the mind. We're just noticing what's taking place. Now, does this mean we don't control the mind at all? Or does it get to just run free rein? we're noticing what the mind has to offer, the conditioned mind. So this might be interpreted as the point where non-doing, so the pranayama, starts to open up to pratyahara, so the internalization, getting a sense of the domain of the inner world. Because of all the prerequisites, or the prior sort of inclusions, then the pratyahara, the internalization, will be concurrent with dharana. This is the concentration, the ability to naturally concentrate. So pratyahara and dharana will be the same. They will facilitate each other. Taking a step back again, back to pranayama, this is an interesting one because there are three facets to pranayama. And if we were to interpret pranayama as also a vessel, or kind of like a door that opens up to wu-wei, then the wu-wei will show itself as three facets here. Either it's going to be something that is inspirational, literally, to the resonance of health. So the person who has an attention base, aware of pranayama, will also be inherently endowed with wu-wei. And so the health gets to express itself. Now, if the motivation is that I want a physical body that is healthy, and I want to optimize that health, then this is fair enough, and it's an aspiration which will probably bear fruit in that arena. However, it might be that someone wants to walk the razor's edge. The razor's edge here is to let the fruits of wu-wei benefit others. If you are a therapist, or you have a vocation, profession, inclination, motivation to be of service in that way to society, then it's good to see what we're doing or what we're not doing. If one gets a sense of the subtle world, the subtle sensations that show themselves, the subtle thoughts that start to dissipate, dissolve, then the whole of the body can tingle with aliveness. It can feel like an energy that we can share with another person. This is a dangerous area if one is not understanding what's really going on. This can be sometimes where we think that we have an energy that we can channel, or we can pass over to another person. This is where we can start to use the term healing, or I am a healer of sorts. Go very careful here, please, because I guess I've been investigating this for just over 40 years altogether, and I've noticed that people, when they start to get confused with this, will build up the impetus of a tidal wave of karma. If they pursue it and believe it, and at the same time don't understand what's truly taking place, then they will identify with this subtlety and not really understand what's truly taking place. with the space, which is actually, in a way, nothingness. Nothingness that isn't really understood by the mind, because the mind breaks things up into dualities. It breaks things up into this is nothing and this is something. This is empty, this is full. This is dynamic, this is still. It can't truly understand nothingness because of this. This nothingness is not really nothingness. It is also fullness. And even those two terms don't do it justice. So that space, which is nothing, if there is an awareness of that, so it's a conscious space, then the thoughts, the sensations, the feelings, the emotions that arise and are unveiled in that space will also dissolve. They will pass. They will pass in that space. If they're passing at that very moment, there is an awareness. If there is an awareness of this passing, there is an awareness which will facilitate new arising. Arising which will then pass again because of the space, which will then cause another arising, which will then pass. And this is this isn't something, again, to be analysed. It's something to be aware of. This is an insight. This is taking place all the time, within our bodies, within the mind, within nature. Animate objects, inanimate objects are all arising and passing. It's the law of nature, the ultimate law of nature. Just as much a law of nature as gravity. And if one is aware of that, then there is also no one to channel this or pass this over to another person. We are all arising and passing. If one is a therapist and gives the impression that they are passing something to another person, then this will not only delude the therapist, it will also cause a delusion in the client. If we are aware, on the other hand, if we're aware of that subtle arising and passing taking place within our body, within the mind, and we can perceive that taking place as an individual, then it's like a calm intensity becomes the presiding factor in the relational interaction with another person. That other person's system will gravitate to that sense. It's almost like the health that they inherently are endowed with starts to free itself. It's not like it's suddenly there or coming from somewhere else. It's already there. It's just been clouded over by lots of time, lots of thoughts, emotions, memories, experiences. Will all consolidate to form this stuckness of health. Another person's non-stuckness becomes almost contagious. It becomes, contagious is obviously the wrong word here, it becomes enticing, alluring, something that encourages the health of another person to free itself, become more motile, become more effervescent. And so even if the insights doesn't come alongside with that, the sense of the freedom and the health probably will. I guess then it's your job as a therapist, if you're working in that context, to then help the client understand that it isn't you channeling energy. It isn't you having some power that you're passing over to another person from the etheric worlds. Yeah. That's empowering, and that's facilitatory of insight for themselves. Do I have anything else to share there? I don't think so. I think that's... Oh, yes. Well, okay. As far as the pranayama goes, there's the health aspect, so one's own health. It's increasing the ability or possibility for your own health to be optimized. There is the therapeutic aspect, when you have that willingness to share it with another person or other people. The insight that you're sharing. You're sharing your presence with another person. You could say this is love in a way, or you could say it is, acknowledging another person into the insight that you have. Or there is the development, in inverted commas, there is the deepening into your own patterns. So the patterns that have been stored up, those deep patterns of experience, one can actually help them to rise. This would be the meditation part then. So we're not even looking at the pranayama and the wu-wei being meditation itself. Not in this context. Not as far as I'm imparting here anyway. The meditation in a way is the insight of the depth of your true being, where you're noticing that actually you aren't a separate permanent self. You need to have a sense of self when you're in a therapeutic setting. If you don't, everything will be dynamic stillness. This can lead to, a self of disorientation, a sense of disorientation, and doesn't necessarily impart a place of safety for another person. Whereas if you get this sense of calm intensity as yourself, and the other person in the therapeutic context is able to feel that, then you can bring in techniques as well. And those techniques, I'm not talking about energetic techniques here. I'm talking about physical, natural, mechanical techniques. Things whereby, a person's got a frozen shoulder and you start to mobilize that shoulder, but with that calm intensity. Again, it's not a channeling of energy, it's a helping the body's physiology to unstick itself from that impression and tendency to be held around the thoughts, the memories, the experience, and the impressions. It's a hard subject to impart because at the same time as not wanting to make it complex, if we go into the simplicity, which it can seem very simple, I'm passing it, because I'm feeling the energy, I'm passing it over to you. I'm a healer, I'm healing in this place. That can seem very simple, but that is not it. In fact, it's much more simple than that. You are nature, and another person is realizing that they are not another in that moment. And that doesn't mean that they suddenly become merged and absorbed by you. They won't, because their thoughts and their emotions and their feelings are still going to be arising and passing, but a little snippet of insight is provided for them. That's it.